Good morning and welcome to the internet's only live daily housing show exclusively on BAM. On today's hot sheet, I will discuss predictions from Goldman Sachs, U.S. property loan tweaks, and an $800 billion loss in office values. Today is Friday, July 14th, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the hot sheet starts now. Welcome back to Friday's Hot Sheet, and love to know in the comments if you're here on the live stream, which market you are tuning in live from today, what's happening from Phoenix and OKC. Jody's in the house. Good to see you from Cincinnati, Ohio, Savon. Thank you guys very much. Marin County of San Francisco is in the house. Phoebe, nice to see you. All right, let's jump into, if you were on yesterday's stream, I had a little bit of Goldman Sachs news, Goldman Sachs housing outlook. And now today I've got a little bit more from the Goldman Sachs report. This is their bull scenario and bear scenario, bear and bull, rather. We'll start with bear for the housing industry, for the housing forecast. Okay, so let's take a look at what Goldman Sachs believes is worst case scenario for housing versus best case scenario for this year, 2023, 2024, and 2025. Okay, let's start with housing starts. We know housing starts are up, and worst case scenario, they think year over year change at the end of this year will be 15.7%. That would almost equal 2021's housing starts of 16% year over year change. Now, worst case scenario, they believe we could drop down to 1.1% year over year increase off of that 15.7 in 2024 and a 2.7% increase in 2000. And I'm sorry, the 15.7 this year is a decrease, worst case scenario. The 1.1% next year would be another decrease, and then a 2.7% increase in 2025. My apologies. These charts are in the daily download in BAMX. If you can read them better than I can after that mistake, I'm sure you can. You could grab them down below. Okay, so 15.7% decrease on housing starts this year is worst case scenario. Best case scenario would be for the end of this year, a 1.4% year over year change on housing starts. 2024 best case scenario 7.5%, and best case is 3.8%. So a lot can happen with builders for month to month. We saw that last year at the end of the year where it kind of stopped on a dime for builders. And now they're getting more confidence here the last 60 days, and we saw 12% increase in sales the last month for builders. So new housing is starting to pick up, but that can be very volatile at times and stop very quickly. Okay, let's go into what we really care about, the prices here. What's going to happen with prices? So worst case scenario, according to Goldman Sachs, worst case scenario year over year change for this year would be negative 3.5%. Of course, Goldman Sachs references Case-Shiller's numbers, and Case-Shiller has us year to date up over 2%. So this would be quite the drop from where we're sitting year to date to end the year at negative 3.5%. Next year, worst case scenario, Goldman Sachs has us up 1%. So worst case scenario, Goldman Sachs believes home prices will increase year over year in 2024, 1%. In 2025, worst case, they have the U.S. housing median home price up 0.5%. Okay, let's look at best case right now for 2023 this year. Best case, Goldman Sachs believes housing home prices, median housing home prices year over year change would be plus 3%. Best case scenario for next year would be plus 3%. Best case scenario for 2025 would be 2%. On new homes, best case scenario would be up 1.5%. Next year, up 5%. And 2025, 2%. That's for new construction. Best case or worst case scenario for new home construction This year would be down 6.5%, up 2% worst case scenario next year, and flat for 2025. So Goldman Sachs believes that worst case, we could be down 3.5% on home prices this year. Best case, 3%. So you have a 6.5% spread on Goldman Sachs worst case to best case scenario. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me, especially when, anybody who owns a home or bought a home the last couple of years is up 40+% in most markets across America. I think you'll take that trade of up 40% or more in lieu of a 6.5% spread. Could be up 3%, could be down 3.5%. So everybody listen to the doomers on Twitter, Reventure being one of them, that told people not to buy 2 years ago. They missed out on the opportunity in this big cliff that they've been talking about in 2023. I mean, they named the cliff every single year, but they've gotten really loud in 2023. This cliff is as big as 3.5%, but it potentially could be another gainer year at 3%. So there you go. This Goldman Sachs update on their bear and bull scenarios. And really, they don't expect a volatile housing market when it comes to prices at all. What is got some uncertainty on whether it's going to get a little more volatile or not is our regional banks. And Reuters just did an analysis. Banks step up U.S. property loan tweaks to limit their defaults. Okay, I believe regional banks are in more trouble. I've stated that here on the streams. When you've got some of these commercial buildings coming due in the future, and you've got a time when organizations are going to be, do I renew my lease? Do I not? The financing on the building is coming due. I think regional banks are as they have in San Francisco recently, are going to be left holding the bag a little bit. Banks are showing a growing willingness right now to potentially get ahead of the curve here and rework the terms of U.S. commercial real estate loans to prevent defaults, mitigating near-term losses, but also masking growing stress in some parts of the market. As U.S. commercial real estate has come under pressure with offices and retail struggling in some areas as many people work from home, investors are worrying that losses for banks could add up to tens of billions of dollars. In recent weeks, banks have stepped up efforts to prevent such losses, according to CRE analysts and industry data. Lenders are offering borrowers loan extensions and modifications, selling derivatives to fix interest costs, and offering subsidized loans to investors to purchase defaulted loans. Okay, so they have to do this, basically, is the punchline here. The banks have to start reworking some of these loans now, or we're going to have a glut of foreclosures in the commercial, building sector. Okay, we're going to have a bunch of foreclosures. We're going to have a bunch of banks then that are going to take a significant hit on their balance sheet because they don't, if they're tied up in all this commercial real estate, now they don't have the money to stay afloat, essentially. So reworking them now, trying to get ahead of this is smart. I think it's particularly smart because a lot of the businesses and organizations with the leases haven't yet had the opportunity to pull out completely. And we've got a story in Bloomberg that I'm going to go through of why some of these organizations are going to think about shutting down their office entirely. They're also thinking about, they're thinking about cutting down on staffing, right? That's been a common theme here throughout the year with some of these larger corporations. Okay, people don't want to come to the office. We've got some that can work from home that can actually do their job from home. Some others that just aren't capable of being productive from home. We'll get rid of those. We'll keep the ones that can, or we'll keep the ones that are coming into the office, but we need less space. The 23 largest U.S. banks held 20% of office downtown retail CRE loans, according to U.S. Federal Reserve. Small banks also have high exposure to CRE loans as a percentage of their assets. That 23 largest U.S. banks, a lot of them are considered regional banks, though. Okay, just because they're some of the largest banks doesn't mean that they're not considered regional, how we define that in this country. In the Fed's recent stress test, in a severely adverse scenario of CRE prices falling by 40%, That's the projection for New York City. The 23 large banks stood to lose 64.9 billion. The 23 largest banks could lose 64.9 billion if commercial real estate prices fall by 40%. I think that's highly likely that commercial real estate will fall by close to 40% for these office buildings in particular. Office values had fallen 12.7% by their first quarter from their peak a year ago, according to Moody's. And again, this is just the beginning for office buildings. We haven't seen a significant turn of, even the companies that are back. They're back like Tuesday through Thursday, or they're back Monday through Thursday. Still not back full force in the office. And it's not like they're not worried about the health crisis. It's over. They're just the new culture of the company. About 2.1 billion in office loans pooled in CMBS matured in May, almost double that amount from January through April, for example. Of that, 36.5% were modified or extended, according to Moody's. Expect more modifications, more extensions coming in the near future. That came after there were no modifications or extensions of loans in the period from February to April. If borrowers agreed to loan extensions, some 10.8 billion of office loans maturing this year would be pushed to later years. Overall default rate for the office sector stood at 4%, well below the 10% touched during the financial crisis, said Kevin Fagan. I think we could touch 10% in commercial. I don't want to because I know that'll have the trickle down effect to the banks and all of that. By the end of 2023, Moody's analytic Kevin Fagan said that we could have defaults go up to as high as 6%, so 4% below our peak in the financial crisis. Okay. Not surprising that banks are trying to rework now and get ahead of what is coming. By the way, if you want to get ahead of your business, this would be a last call for our mid-year mastermind, which is happening today at 2 p.m. Eastern. You just got to be a member of BAMX. If you're not a member of BAMX, hit the link below and join us. We've got masterminds like the one today going live at 2 o'clock, live streams, courses, our private Facebook community, the daily download on BAMX. So get ahead, become a better agent, sell more houses, become a better marketer. We have a ton of marketing content in there. Join BAMX with the link down below. Remote work to wipe out 800 billion from office values, McKinsey says. So that would be 800 billion from office values would be a bigger number than that Reuters number of 60 something billion that banks would lose, the 23 top banks. You take 800 billion from values in these office buildings, you're going to see a lot of folks walk away, a lot of investors, a lot of property owners in the big office buildings walk away. Office attendance remains 30% below pre-pandemic levels. Love to know in the live chat, Ashley, if you can put up the live chat for me on the sidebar there, if I can just see it. Love to know in the live chat and then flash any answers here. What's your office look like out of the, say you got 100 people, out of 100% of folks who have access to the office, what's the daily use? Is it 5%, 10%, 25%, 50%? What's the daily use in your office percentage of people who have access to it? Remote work risks wiping $800 billion from the value of office buildings in major cities, highlighting the potential losses that landlords are facing from post-pandemic changes in employment trends. There's a lot of landlords out there on office buildings that just don't want to believe the value of their building is going to decline. They just don't want to believe it. 15% for Emily in Phoenix, 15% of people using the office. Move to the mother load with Brad. What's going on, Brad? 10 to 20% of use in Brad's office. Jennifer Collins, we left our office. There were couches and tables in a big lounge area. So you left your office. You just left the lease. Did you just not renew the lease? What do you mean by that? Love to know a little bit more. COVID's push towards hybrid work has driven the need for office space down, with vacancy rates rising. Dawn says less than 10% in her office. McKinsey Global Institute said Thursday in a report that modeled the impact on valuations by 2030 in 9 global cities, probably 15% there for Kniff. The estimate for 800 billion in valuation losses represents a 26% decline compared to levels in 2019, with the blow at risk of deepening to as much as 42%. The impact on the value could be even greater if rising interest rates compounded. That's the thing. The more the rates go up, the more this sector gets squeezed out, because it's hard to refinance. If the interest rate's up over 7%, and they might get a little lower rate on some of these commercial buildings, that maybe not because they're such a riskier asset. But um, anyways, a higher interest rate makes it harder to refinance your debt, especially if leases and the value of those leases is dropping and the vacancy is rising. The asset that you're holding, commercial building, is really a business of leases. That asset that you're holding, about 20% for Phoebe, is declining in value. And now you've got to refinance at a higher rate. The numbers obviously don't work out. Need for office space. Here's the chart from Bloomberg. Changes in demand by 2030, driven by the pandemic. And you've got San Francisco here leading the pack. We know we've covered what's going on with San Francisco, New York, number two. And so changes, so negatives in percentage changes in demand by 2030. San Francisco is going to have more than negative 20+% change in demand. New York City around 20%. And then you have some other global cities. Houston is up there as well at about negative 10%. McKinsey's model is offering a window on how property owners and lenders are grappling with the changes and where people will work in the future. In a moderate scenario, according to McKinsey, demand for office space will be 13% lower by the end of the decade. So that's, a moderate scenario. Attendance is still 30% lower than what it was before the pandemic, and only 37% of people are back at the office every day, right? Foot traffic near stores in metropolitan areas remains 10 to 20% below pre-pandemic levels. Lower attendance has driven down asking rents in real terms. U.S. cities have generally seen sharper drops, with San Francisco and New York City showing declines of 28 and 18% respectively. So I think, if you're talking about retail and you want foot traffic, you got to be right around incredible restaurants. Okay, you got to be close to the great restaurants that people are going to be going out to eat, the coffee shops, those types of things. Or you just got to have some kind of an experience. And the office buildings, I just think they're in trouble. I just don't think that the majority of people want to work in an office. I do not believe that the majority of people are more productive at home than they are in the office. It does take a unique individual. I've got a lot of people that work from home, some people that work both in the office and at home. I mean, when you really monitor the situation, you can tell what's what. Then I've got some people that have always worked from home. My operations manager is she's incredibly disciplined, works way more, hours than asked type of thing. And so it does come down to the individual and whether they can pull it off or not. There has to be discipline. There has to be less distractions. That's a whole nother part of the puzzle. But the culture of wanting to work from home is not going away. That's without question. Okay. You can get into all kinds of debates on, whether, you know, young people should be doing that if they really want to move up and advance in their career. If they're always going to be at home, you got to find ways to add significant value to the companies that you're working for. And obviously, there's a question on whether that is the case or what kind of impact you can make. All right, let's take a look at the impact on the 10-year the last couple of days with the 30-year fixed rate. Right now, we are up a tick today, but we're down below 3.8. So yesterday, the 10-year served us well, down to 3.788. And we did see a really nice bump down on the 30-year fix, down to 6.87. It's amazing that 6.87 can feel pretty good when you've been sitting up over 7% here for the last couple of weeks. So down below 7%. Hopefully we hold firm there going into the weekend on Mortgage News Daily's daily survey. Of course, the Freddie Mac 30-year fixed weekly survey sits at 6.96. I think its highest rate on the weekly survey for Freddie Mac. All right. Later today, 2 o'clock, I'm doing a mastermind, mid-year mastermind for real estate agents. If you sign up right now for BAMX, you'll get the questionnaire for that so you can prepare. It's 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. Also, just join me in BAMX, even if you can't make it. You can watch the replay of that, all of the other courses, you'll have access to all the future live streams. I'm doing one next week on online leads, and of course, you get the private group and the daily downloads from the hot sheet. Also, if you'd like to join me in Dallas in August at the Tom Ferry Success Summit, this is the Super Bowl of real estate events for real estate agents. Then hit the other link down below for the Success Summit and put in the code PRBAMSS, PRBAMSS. You get $100 off your ticket. It's the lowest ticket to the Success Summit that you can find on the internet here on BAM. So PRBAMSS, kind of a psychotic discount code, a little long. I don't love it, but it is PRBAMSS. That's the code. Get $100 off of your ticket. It's live in BAMX Facebook. It will be live in BAMX. The replay will be up on BAMX and in the BAMX Facebook today, 2 p.m. for BAMX members, of course. Okay. All right. That's it. I will see you guys at 2 o'clock, the BAMXers, and I will see everybody else back on the hot sheet Monday, live at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific time. Until then, toodaloo.